Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new commentary, and this one's kind of in left field, but I'm pretty sure it's like an urban legend almost. And I think about that is definitely you're gonna want to check this one out. And probably you've more than likely heard of this film. It's skateboard lore, and what I thought about it was an active portrayal of what goes on. But I don't want this to just be like the cliche, because I'm not trying to be like the cliche artist that just does that. But I think this is a good introduction to the fields that I want to get into. But we're gonna cut the dramatics and get to it right away. Three, two, one. Now, my understanding of this film is they said is based around the lives of four skateboarders, and additionally a few late active companies that endorse these skaters. And the thing about it is that it is like a rise to fame almost, and that's kind of like something that I was a little bit like. I liked the idea behind it, and the important thing is that they didn't try to put bad moments into the film. It wasn't like, oh well, one guy betrays the other. No, this is almost like a biography, and because these skateboarders legends were so good, they had to do it. And this movie came out in 2005, and basically what I thought about it was what I thought about it was um I thought, yeah, it was a good movie, but I don't know, like, the thing about it is it's just like it says right there, inspired by a true story. Like, they start off as surfers, they eventually get so huge that they're just going buck wild. And that's like the definition of fun almost. They say that people live for fun, and it is definitely seen in this movie. You're gonna say, "Oh God," like if you're like an upcoming skateboarder and like, yeah, I want to be like Jay Adams or Stacy or whoever, like really, or even Tony Alva. Like, my personal take on it is like you might as well go for gold, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I decided I'm just going to fuck around and do as much as humanly possible. Like, I could have waited for this until tomorrow, but I thought, fuck it, let's do it right now. And the way that the film starts off is basically like you're saying, well, how bad are these cats? Really, the way that the cats are, they've actually got an incredible sense of what they're doing. And the thing I liked was that it almost makes them look like street level type people, because like none of these cats are, like, the movie doesn't mention anything besides skateboarding, and it just naturally assumes that, like, skate, surf, extreme. No one is doing anything else but that in the film. And really, that's something that's a problem, because if you hang out with people that surf and skate, like, the thing is that for the most part there's gonna be something else that's prominent in the film. And like, really, they actually do, but they're just, the thing about it is there isn't much of a script, just because it's an autobiography, and that's like the only thing. I was interested in the movie, but like, it's just, I guess certain people's lives are so good that you can basically have a film to emulate what they're doing. Not just emulate, but to show. That's like the better word for it. And what I thought was, yeah, like the notorious B.I.G. got a movie based on his life, and it proved like this movie says, hey, you don't have to be dead to have an autobiography about you, but one of the characters actually ends up dying, and it's like, oh, all right, that's that, you would say, hey, are there ups and downs in the film? And that's like the only thing. Really, this is just a straight extreme ride the whole way through. That's all it is. And really, what you've got to say is either you're going to like it or you're not. And, like, really, I mean, think about the type of movies that skateboarders would watch. I mean, I'm not entirely sure how much you could say about that, but to skate is to know, and that's the basic thing that you want to entail when you do something like that. Really, they have lifestyles, and that's what's depicted here. I mean, there's certain movies that happen and you can't make a lifestyle out of it, but this is actually it actually this is how they started off. It's kind of interesting watching this movie again because the shit that you catch the second time, like really, I was just in kind of when I watched this. If I'm silent, it's because it's amazing how much your brain is on automatic sometimes. And when you see this several times, you know that like they had to do work just to surf, and that sort of thing basically implied like, yeah, we were at the bottom of the chopping block. Some people telling us, well, hey, you're not cut out to surf. And I mean, it's kind of like, this is almost like the same shit on YouTube, if you know what I mean. Like, to be able to say, all right, I want to blow up, and the only thing is I don't have to worry about like some person coming through and saying, well, X, we want to give you a distribution company, and all you have to do is make movie commentaries. Like, I don't think I would do it just because like YouTube pays you, number one, and number two, I don't want to be on a schedule. Like, that's like the biggest thing. I do this because I want to, and I think even if they were to say, well, um we'll pay you $80 for every view that you get, I still don't know if I would do it, because it would just be like, I mean, the point that you want to make is to be able to get to where you don't have to do anything. And that's what these guys kind of like. I don't know if they necessarily establish it, but the thing about it is that they don't make enough money to where they don't have to skateboard anymore. And I guess it's because they like doing it, but it never really says how much money they actually make. Like, one Jay gets a deal for $10,000 just for doing some advertisement, and like, really, they make it seem like he joins a gang, and whether or not he did, he probably had some affiliation. I mean, he just starts going through the whole thing, and I mean, it's just the way it goes. But the thing I thought about it was, I don't know, like, really, I mean, there's a lot of smoking in this film. Like, there's a lot of drug use, and that's what skateboarders do. I mean, really, it's a harm to it. And I think the copy of the movie that I have is unrated, and I'm pretty sure it was rated R just because they say fuck more than a few times, and that's just about it. Like, really, I mean, as interesting as it goes, but the late great Heath Ledger is in this film, and I'm starting to realize that like I might have an affiliation with this man if I continue to find him in films that I like. I mean, that's the only problem is that I don't know terribly many films. I mean, Heath Ledger's career was very I don't know how many movies he was in. I mean, there was A Knight's Tale and a couple other ones besides this. I mean, I don't terribly know many of his movies. I mean, basically, I look on Internet Movie Database and The Dark Knight is still like at 144 out of 300,000. Like it's still that popular 6 years later. And Batman, I mean, really. Now, that's it. Like really, I mean, these casters do the thing. Like really, they're always in one thing to the next, and that's the thing I like is it actually depicts the world of skateboarding rather well. I mean, I was surprised that I mean skateboarding, most of the time you just see it as like some hobby that some 13-year-old does. Like I mean, I think it was in Terminator 2 where the kid skateboards and he goes through like an entire mall with a friend or something like that. It might have been I don't know. It could have been a motorcycle, but it might have been a bike. I don't know. I thought it was a skateboard though, but most of the time it's just a gimmick. Like I mean, really, that's what skateboarding is seen to me as is just a gimmick. And I'm not saying that like, oh, skateboarding is a gimmick. I'm saying that's what it appears to be. That's what films make it as. I mean, you don't really see it as anything more than just like a yo-yo. You just it's like, oh, okay, this is fun for like the first 5 minutes, and then you go inside. But the film actually runs with it, and they say like the urethane wheels, and I thought really that's interesting in itself just because it's like, all right, basically there are some tires that have grip. Like everything has like a specialty if you be surprised by it. Like if you like soda, there's brands of soda that are just a little bit better. I mean, some people are poor and buy they buy like the unnamed brands, and some people buy the actual brands, and that's the kind of shit that you find here is that there's wheels that have just a bit better than what they do. And the movie does not show very much of them just being street cats. It doesn't. I mean, these guys hit fame and hit the ground running immediately. All it happens is they just say, "Hey, we're going to do a um a a skateboarding competition," and Tony Alva gets like nines and tens, and they just blow up, and really the fame just kicks in from there. I mean, really, the thing about being an originator is that you don't have much competition. So these guys just naturally, and I mean, ladies loved it. I'm not gonna joke. Like this seeing some new stars doing something entirely new, it attracted people. And that's the thing. Like if you can say like, hey, I've got this newfangled thing I'm doing. No one's done it before. Like really, I mean, what do you think the person that happened? What do you think that happened to the person that invented hockey? Really, I mean, he probably got tons of fucking support and vagina. Like really, I mean, it's just I know hockey's probably like 100 years old, but I'm just saying like skateboarding was new in the 70s, and that's where this film takes place is in the 70s. It doesn't venture into the 80s but it just shows like their early years, and it's almost like I guess the reason why they didn't make a Lords of Dogtown 2 or like or even better like a different title is because the guys broke up. And really they were broken up at the beginning. Like they all had their own lives. It wasn't like, oh, we eat together, we sleep together. Like they didn't do those things. And I mean, they did, but it happened immediately. Almost like the film portrays it as like every one of these cats has their own life, and they start just investing in what they have to do. And that's about it, really. I mean, the way I thought about it was, like really, I mean, you can tell someone's star power by the fact that they make their own decisions. And like with Bone Thugs and Harmony, all of the Bone Thugs basically didn't want to do anything until Busy Bone started venturing out on his own and wanted a solo career. And then the Bone Thugs always broke up. Like they always had different ones. And it was just like, yeah, I mean, you would think that those guys had some. That's really, I like that couch that's just in the middle of some skating spot. Like that's really tight. Just being able to say like, hey, we like Heath Ledger, he's always smoking, and the thing about it is I can't tell if it's cigarettes that he's smoking because I mean he actually inhales, and I don't know why you're trying to get like, I mean, of course you inhale on a cigarette, but the thing is it's like he makes it, the way he smokes it, it feels like it's like if someone were to go and just inhale that cigarette. It's like, come on, it's just a cigarette. You know what I'm saying? Like it has to be Mary Jane. And you probably didn't hear that, but it's just like, certain people when they smoke, they tight their lips and they take like a sharp inhalation, and it's just that's the way it goes. But they look like cigarettes. You know what I'm saying? But basically it's like there is popularity going on, and like when to start off they just fuck around and just do the thing, but eventually it gets, not even eventually, I mean just the way it happens is things start to blow up. And what I'm surprised at is that they didn't have like any endorsements. Like they didn't have people that are like, I mean, obviously they didn't want to pay Pepsi and shit like that, but they never really mentioned that they started getting endorsements. And I mean, they went from a skate competition to being on a skate team. Like Skip, who's Heath Ledger, he's the, I mean, sometimes you gotta pay homage to the originators, because even though they are the stars, like they would have been regular people if not for, like, I think what I would do is if I got to be like a multimillionaire, I would probably donate like $800,000 to Skip, something like that. I would just say, hey, I mean that's saying if I had $60 million or something like that, that's what I would do. And that's assuming that he didn't get off the ground, because whatever. I mean, now would he do some shit like that for me? I mean, the point being is that you have to, I mean, it's, I guess, like if you don't want to be like the way that it is, that's alright. I mean, I guess really, why pay homage to someone who doesn't give a fuck about you? But they all got signed to the team except for Stacy. And Stacy basically, he gets on the team eventually, and you should probably know this. I mean, I shouldn't have to explain the film to you. You've seen it. You're watching this commentary, and like, I like just the way that they actually breeze through the film. They continue to show things, and it's just the rise of an empire. Really, I mean, that's all I can say. Like they get the skateboards, they start skating, and the one thing I noticed it doesn't really emphasize is it doesn't emphasize practice. And I mean, a question that I had was that who do you think was the best skater of all the actors out of the main three, out of Jay, out of Tony, and out of Stacy? Who was like the best skater of the three? And they all do their thing. I mean, for some reason, it just seems like I don't know if these cats still talk. I mean, I like it when actors have like relationships and not homosexual relationships, but like Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson hanging out, or Chris Tucker and Ice Cube hanging out, that sort of thing. Like when you see, and it's not like you find relationships that are outside of the theater, and it makes me wonder like if any of these cats, because I don't know, I've never heard of any of these guys like like Emil Hirsch, Victor Rasuk, and John Robinson. Those are some of the ones that were in the film, and those were the main three. And like, thing about it is that I've never heard of any of these cats. And you're saying, well, you probably haven't. I mean, skateboarding actors. I mean, how common are those? I mean, really, what? I mean, there's not movies about skateboarding that often. So what would you find them in? I mean, it's almost like they have talent, but I think they're more trying to prove a point more than they're trying to. I mean, some people have a love for it. I mean, like I can't think of any actors in particular, but um, like there have been ones that are just trying to prove a point, and like that's the thing. The thing about it is that I'm looking up on the internet the movies that are like this, and there isn't any that are skateboarding. Like Invincible is one. Ali with Will Smith is another one. The Hurricane. The Blind Side with Sandra Bullock. The World's Fastest Indian. Raging Bull. 42. Rudy. The Basketball Diaries. I think that has, Leonardo DiCaprio's in that. Maybe I'll check that out. Invictus. I have that movie. Express and Fearless. Jet Li's Fearless. I really don't know how Jet Li's Fearless is anything like a skateboarding film, but now Jay is kind of like almost stoic. I mean, he's the quietest out of the three of them, and they kind of establish him as like he's not Pepperidge Farm type person. And what I mean by that is, you get that. Goldfish are a snack. I don't give a shit, but it's not necessarily, it's not just that. It's more things. I mean, that's what it's not like he doesn't have like smiles and bunny tails on his face. But thing is that there is a lot of shit that goes on. I mean, the thing I like about the film is that they actually make it to where skateboarding is not boring. Like, I didn't get bored with the film while I was watching it, and like I'm glad that I didn't, but I mean, is this a film that I could watch again and again? I mean, really, I don't know about that. I mean, like, the scenarios that they're in are kind of like, hey, like, yeah, I mean, it makes you want to get off the ground and get and have a bunch of homies and just go about and live that life. And really, the thing about it is that I thought about it and considered it, but I've had these choices before, and it's not like, oh, I was on the verge of blowing up in that field, but like, it's the same thing. I mean, really, I don't know how fame would affect me. I think I'm kind of curious as to the type of person I would become, or I will become. Really, I mean, because I understand that, like, you're gonna get a posse, you're gonna pick people out, you're gonna start getting women, you're going to do drugs, you're just going to do like the standard thing. I mean, like, PewDiePie keeps a sane head on his shoulders, and I'm sure that the man has ventured and taken a couple trips to some parties and woken up with a hangover. I mean, I'm not doubting that this happened. And really, I mean, some people just have a decent head on their shoulders, you know. So I've seen tons of Let's Players that have been like, I'm straight edge. I mean, you'd be surprised at how many of them say, no, I don't do drugs, and I don't party like a rock star. And every one of the cats in this film does. I mean, skateboarders, I mean, that's just a natural fit. You think, well, does anyone have like a good head on their shoulders? But the thing is no, they don't. And I don't necessarily think it means do you have to have a good head on your shoulders. I mean, that's just kind of blown out of proportion. And really, the way I look at it is basically, why wouldn't you want to live like this? Really, I mean, every person who has the chance to go to spring break takes advantage of it. Really, I mean, you just, even people that are like, nah, I don't like spring break, if you motivate them, they're as wild as those other people. I mean, it's a standard trait to say I'm not turned on when you are turned on. I mean, anyone can do that. It's just every person has every person likes to be seduced, and that's all it is. It's like, I'm not I'm not won over like that. That's all people are saying. I mean, it's up to you. But first skateboarding competition. Now, this one, they just established these guys at first, and I mean, luckily the whole movie wasn't based on that, but they established that, like, the team is kind of a bit rowdy, and they just all really kind of take off. And I'm sure if you were to ask these guys, they probably could tell you in a nutshell their first skateboarding competition. I mean, everybody could. You know, really, there's certain things that people remember, and I love it. But the thing about it is, I never know going in that I'm going to remember it, and that's the problem. Like, if you had to ask, I couldn't pick out a day from last year that I just remember, but I could probably pick out a day from 6 years ago that I remember. And I mean, yeah, actually, I could probably pick out a day from last year that I remember, but a couple days. But thing about it is that I don't know. It just really kind of depends. You know what I'm saying? Well, now I was wondering, like, I don't know, like the shit that they do, like really, I mean, they actually have some good stunts in it, and it works. Like, I'm gonna go ahead and say that, like, as much as I know about skateboarding, I've got to say that yeah, the shit that they do, it actually makes them, like, these guys are serviceable skateboarders. And I mean, and you're saying, like the chump thing to say would, well, can you do anything like that? Well, someone who's never launched a rocket's not going to be able to say, yeah, I can launch a rocket from NASA. Like, forget it. Like, really, I mean, unless you just happen to have technical know-how, I mean, for the most part, you're probably going to say someone else is going to. And it's the same type of thing. Now, really, I mean, the thing that you want is to establish, yeah, like this shit, it works, and it really does. I mean, the thing I like is more not necessarily like the event. I mean, I like watching the skateboarding, but it's more like the deals and like the parties and like the eating. That's I like the skateboarding, but I don't know. Like, I guess that's kind of like the laziness in me that likes the interim moments more so than the work moments. And like, I don't want to establish that, like, I don't the last thing I want is to show people that I'm a slacker, because I'm really not. If I With determination, I can basically do whatever I fucking feel, but the thing about it is just is am I enticed enough to do it? And, like, really, these cats, like, actors have to do movies considerably before they actors have to do movies before they can get big. I mean, how many people do you remember that how many people do you remember that just straight up out of nowhere got what they needed? And I mean, I guess there's a couple, like, I don't know, like maybe James Dean. I have no clue. I can't really tell you about it, but things kind of start to get, like, you'd say, well, things are getting rowdy, but really, I mean, like, they're starting to. I'm surprised that, like, this happened. Like, really, they could say, like, fuck, like, they could say you're banned. It's funny. Like this is just to start off. I mean, the kind of fame that you expect when you get to this is different. It really fucking is. It's just like, hey, what else can you expect? Huh. That's about it. Like, what else would you want to say? Now, the reason why I get quiet is because I'm thinking. That's the main thing. I'm not like someone who talks during something. They're usually nervous. So I mean, like, if I was just like, oh yeah, like during a kissing scene or during some important scene like a fight, like really it's like, oh my god, like, like come on. It's just don't act like movies are so inept, and that's kind of the thing. Like you just kind of take it in. I mean, I don't know necessarily how much I would talk to you during a sex scene. I mean, I could. I mean, I may not even pay attention to it, but I'm not going to be like, oh, raise your legs a bit more. I'm not gonna, like, I don't know. Like, I guess, like, if we wanted to keep it funny, we could do that. But I mean, it's just pay attention a little bit, really. And I guess, like, if you were to actually be sitting next to me, like, someone that I know does not someone that I've heard of does commentaries, and he usually does it with a friend. And like, I don't do that because there's no one that I know. I mean, that I don't have friends, but like, it's not like necessarily like I have friends. They've just moved away, and that's just the only problem with it is that. And I have a couple, but I mean, it's just I don't necessarily know if they would fit with like the procedure. And now that I think about it, like I don't know if like just saying, "Hey man, would you want to do a commentary with me?" All we have to do is talk about the movie. Like the guy has basically established that. And I don't know, like really. See, this makes me hungry right here. It's a family restaurant. Look, I mean, just look at these guys go nuts. Like they're realizing that they're getting big, and that's the thing. Like, trust me when I say that that's one of the greatest feelings that you can have. I mean, I can just think of it how much when you blow up, that's like the best feeling. I remember hearing like a Kanye West interview, and he said when it was like in 2002, something like that, but he said he was in an elevator and it hit him that like this is one of the last times that I can do this. And I just thought, like I can't imagine that feeling right now just to be able to say like this is the last time I can be in an elevator somewhere and not be recognized on the streets. And I would always remember that moment. I really would. I would just be like, hey, holy shit. And I would say more than that, but like, forget about it, really. And this happens to these cats, and like the point of where they're starting to blow up. I mean, like there's something between underground and above ground, and that's kind of where these cats are starting to go. Like an underground, you should know underground artists. They're like they've got a following, but they probably don't have a Wikipedia yet. That sort of thing. Like they've got fans, they've got shows, they probably get paid like 800, 1200, 2400 a show, but they're not huge just yet. And like and I know I'm integrating music, but that's like what I know. I mean, it's the same thing. That's what these cats are slowly starting to become. They're, it's not that they don't have the skill, and that's the thing. I mean, when you have a skill set, and you just haven't been recognized, that's another good feeling that you want. I mean, that's really good because it's like, hey, if I keep doing this, it's going to happen. And that's like something that you want to establish immediately. I mean, just knowing that, hey, I could probably do this and it'll work. And all three of these cats have those capabilities. Now, this part in the movie is just kind of a little bit extreme just because, I mean, he gets a gift. He gets a gift from someone and he just destroys it. He's like, fuck that gift. Like, really, I mean, it's just a little bit out of place. But, I mean, I guess really because his mom is poor and the guy that is with her is just like a bitch. That's the only thing I can think of. But, like, I don't know. Like, really, it's just, I didn't get that, really. But, things continue, and we're just going lift off with the whole thing. I mean, really, there's a lot that's gonna happen, and these cats, like, I looked them up. I think they were all born in like the early 60s, and that's really good. I mean, so these cats did their thing, and this is the start of a new concept in the film that we're gonna see, and really the in ground pool. Like, really, I mean, obviously, if you're gonna skate, you should know about this. And like, I'm not terribly hip to all the places that skateboarders go, but I mean, this is simply one of them. I remember that Pharrell Williams said he had like an I forget what it was called, but he had like a ramp or something like that in his home. And I mean, considering Pharrell, and I know it's like, well, I'm bridging my world with this world, but I mean, I'm talking about, I don't give a shit because like skateboarding, it's one of those things that like skateboarding has always been like a neighbor to me. It's not something like knitting that I'm just like miles away from. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, I swear that skateboarding is like a next door neighbor to me. Almost like, you've had friends that have skateboarded, you've watched movies about skateboarding, you were like, when I was growing up, I knew who Bam Margera and Johnny Knoxville were, and that was like the main thing. And I used to watch Viva La Bam and parts of Jackass and Wild Boys, and I used to watch those shows. And so, like, in my teens, I definitely knew who those cats were. But Pharrell, on the other hand, just like, he had a ramp, and you don't really hear too much about Pharrell in skateboarding anymore. I mean, rappers and skateboarding, I mean, it kind of works, but it's almost like a fusion that you don't want to see. I mean, it's not that you don't want to see it, but I mean, for the most part, it's not necessarily a rapper that likes skateboarding. It's a skateboarder that likes rapping, and that's the difference. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the kind of trade that I don't like. I mean, any person that says they like rap and rock, I mean, there's no rap songs that are played in this movie. And I guess because, well, it was the 70s and there weren't black people that were skateboarding. But I mean, the thing is, if someone that says they like rap and rock, you have to say, all right, well, who do you like in rap? Because if you like Nine Inch Nails and and Nirvana and Pink Floyd, but then you like Lil Wayne, it doesn't fit because everyone likes Lil Wayne, you know, like. But if you say you like all these cats and then you say, well, I like um Plies, you know, like really that's a little bit different, you know, like I just the way I look at that, or you like Yellow Wolf or some shit like that, or Juicy J, that's that's considered different, and I have more respect for someone like that than someone that says, well, I like rap and rock but only certain rap. I mean, like, there's just all they're saying is if you're cool enough, I can listen to it with you. But these guys, like, he tries to, he actually throws down that chair and it works. Like, it's funny when traps work. Like, it really is. But this is one thing. Like, they continue skateboarding and it's fun. I can't lie that it isn't. But and truthfully, I've never skateboarded a day in my life. I mean, I know, like, I'm 210 pounds right now. I can't jump. I couldn't jump. I don't even think I used to be able to jump pretty high, but I don't think I could jump more than I don't think I could jump more than 2 feet off the ground. And that you're saying, well, that's below average. I mean, this my mobility has decreased quite a bit. I mean, I've been drinking beer, I've been eating full frozen pizzas and 2 bowls of pasta and a whole and too many lasagnas. You know, I've been eating, and I realized that I like it, and it's like, well, fuck it, you know. But I really don't think I could jump more than that much. And these cats, they do their thing. Like, really, I mean, it's just a constant thing for them. And like, you're gonna start seeing, like, you should know about this. I mean, they don't integrate the fact that the cops succumb. Just that whole trip 'em up thing. They all vacate. I mean, it's just that's kind of like a genuine hangout almost, to be able to say that, like, let's hang out at some person's backyard. Like, I have a pool in my backyard, but I really don't think anyone could skate in it, and that's because my grandmother keeps the water in in the pool. We just put a cover over it, so it's not like, oh, every year, like, really, I mean, you could drain the water out of it, but I don't think that, like, I don't think I'm gonna get skateboard friends anytime soon. I mean, even if I did, I would say let's go to a fucking skate park, you know, like. But they didn't have those in the 70s, and, like, really, in Springfield, I can only think of actually one skate park. I mean, there might be more, but that's the thing about it. There could be, there could not be, but I mean, and I know, like, you're saying, well, the I know you're saying that, like, these guys, sure, you know, like I said, that they kind of go their separate ways, but I mean, they're hanging out now. This is pre-fame, and I said that, like, they're going to, but, like, as soon as the fame starts, it's kind of different. And I guess that's one of the things that like fame changes people. But they don't really establish whether or not Skip fucks these guys over. All they say is that he gets money because TA Tony Alva, I think Tony Alva, basically Tony Alva fucks around and he blows up, and they say, well, everything that he's the one that gets their store that much money. And the thing about it is that they don't establish whether or not, they just leave him. And it's just a classic tale, but luckily they don't put that much emphasis. They just say, well, everyone's going their separate ways, and that's it. That's all they do. And I mean, whether or not that's an actuality or not, I mean, that's up to you. And the thing yeah, I was just thinking about something because like I yelled in my video because someone was talking to me, and I yelled, and I was like, not now, but I don't know how I'm going to edit that because Camtasia doesn't, I don't know if like it's gonna force me to in the space create fill the gap, or if I can just leave the gap. Like I don't know if I can do that, and I don't want to fuck up the video because just even that 5 seconds that I said don't come, be quiet, shut up, like thing is that basically I forgot what I was saying. I don't know. Like I don't really think that it's that much of a deal. I'll figure it out. But really, I mean, what you want is, just being at places like this. I mean, it always seemed like they knew where to go. Like it was never like they just always hung out. Like it was like, huh. Like connections are definitely one thing, but you can definitely tell when someone's like, "Hey, I've got a party to go to, and we've got something that we're going to do." And really, I mean, I don't know how much I would party, and it's up to you though. I mean, really, it's just the only thing I really fucking need to do is get some kush in my veins. That's about it. I mean, I don't really care necessarily about. I mean, like I've learned, like there was a Drake song, and Drake says love people and use things. And I thought about that because sometimes it's the other way around. You use people and love things. And I don't, like, I wouldn't want to just, because people, that's like, you can make enemies out of someone just by being like, just like by letting someone know. Like, and I used to do that. I really did. Like, the whole reason why I went to, in about 3.5 years ago, I just went to someone's house, and these guys were like, "Hey, you like motorcycles?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "But you got to buy beer." And so they did, and that was the only reason I was there. And like you, like that's it, really. But I forget what I'm saying, and that's kind of like the problem. But see, that's kind of like the thing almost is like, you forget what you're talking about, and it's not necessarily that I'm distracted, but it's almost like my brain is saying, why are you talking about this? Like, talk about what's going on. Now, they kind of establish, like, really that they are still high school type people, but Like, that's about it. I mean, really, the thing that you gotta look at though is basically having the hookups is fun. And I mean, I know you're probably saying like, X, I wish you had a longer term memory. Like, believe like that, you're preaching to the converter. And like, really, sometimes I think about the same fucking thing. And whatever, I've proven my point though. But skip. But the thing, is that's the crew. Really, I mean, you almost want to do that, but not necessarily do it. Just yell out the window, but like just go get some food, and fucking chill, kick back, and get fucked up. That's it. And really, I could give a damn. I really could. I mean, that's the way I look at it. I mean, I've noticed that not giving a damn gets you in more trouble than giving a damn. That's the one thing, and forget about it. Like, so, like, I've learned that, like, when you say, oh, I don't give a fuck, like that, don't continuously think with that attitude, because, I mean, like, there's people out there like that have this attitude, and like they flip off cameras and they say fuck the world and all that, but it doesn't get you anywhere. Giving a fuck helps more than not giving a fuck, even if it's more dull, it still helps. And I mean, that's like the main thing. I mean, really, what would you want to do if you said, well, I don't give two shits about that, I'm gonna fucking do it? You know, like, anytime you have a friend that's saying that, what? That's like your warning sign. Like, that's like saying, okay, I think my ears should be up. If I'm gonna do this, I might as well have my antennas up so I'm not caught by surprise. Because I mean, there is a fine line between not having something wrong happen and having something wrong happen. And that's just all you got to pay attention to. I mean, but it's not always that easy. I mean, it's just you have to look for the signals. I mean, that's what you got to learn. But they kind of stop establishing that the fact that these guys are rascals. And I know, like, I don't want to say rascals because that's kind of cheesy, but they're not bastards. And like, that's the thing about it. But here's where things start to take off and go in a new direction. Really. Um basically basically what happens is now it's time. I mean, you should know the drill. I mean sometimes you're just paying attention, like, hey, look at this. You know, this film is starting to get like tighter and tighter by the second. Well, here's where things kind of start to cause rifts. You know, you say, well, everything's going good, I'm getting what I want, but then someone comes around and says, hey, I can get you a little bit more money. And he's just like, well, fuck Zephyr. You know, really, I mean, I don't know what I would do in that situation. If I was getting paid 5 cents an hour or some shit like that, like it was just abysmal, you know, I would probably say, yeah, I'm gonna change. But I would also look at the contract. You know, I'm not just gonna, you know, like I watched Wayne's World, really, where they said, well, hey, you got to do this, and then you'll get the money. I mean, I would just, before I sign a contract, I say, well, we're gonna make these revisions to it, and that looks really fucking good. I mean, a couple of the snacks that they talk about in this film, I've been talking so much that I didn't catch it, but like one of the things they said that they ate were tamales, and another time they said they were talking about eating fish sticks, and like just overall the food in this film, it makes you hungry. Like I don't know what you would have chili and cheese on, but fuck it, I'm just like totally fucking hungry. I don't know what that is. If it's a hot dog, it's but that's about it, really. I mean, I'm actually starting to happen. Now, when these articles start rolling in, this is like the start, and like I don't know how much and how long it takes before you go. Like that's what I was talking about, the above ground, below ground type shit. It's like you're kind of like in the medium, but these cats take off and they take off quickly, and eventually, I don't know what I'm saying. Like just pay me no mind. I'm trying to fill out the conversation, but like the thing about it is the fame is the fame, and there's more parties that happen, and basically what goes on is just it lets you know that hey, some people are driven by temptation, and like temptation is such a strong word, but I mean, does temptation necessarily always have to lead to something bad? Like I mean, really, I mean, it's just that's the sort of thing like making an evaluation and saying, well, hey, I'm going to go to a party and I'm going to hook up with this girl. I mean, that's a temptation, but big ass deal, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, who gives a fuck? But when you're famous and do it, you're seen as sleazy. And that's the difference. Like, people that do it, like, I mean, people kind of say, like, alright, um, they just say, like, it, oh, partying is bad, and you know, like there are girls out there that are like, no, I don't get down like that. I don't go to bars and I don't do the whole scene. But like, all you got to pay attention to is like, what's the difference? And I could really give a fuck. I mean, that's just my point of view on it, really. I mean, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you got those opportunities, you only live once. I mean, unless you're like deathly allergic to drugs and women, go ahead and take advantage of the opportunity. And I shouldn't have to tell you that. I really fucking shouldn't. It's not like you should be saying, like, the whole thing about a good head on your shoulders, like, who's to say that whether or not temptation is bad? I mean, you could say, I mean, if you're religious, you could say, well, it's not, but I mean, how often does bad things happen to someone that followed the Bible, you know, or whatever? It's not just the Bible, but any religious book or offering that there was. I mean, it happens all the time. So I mean, you're just saying, you're just prolonging it. Just it shouldn't fucking matter. Now this person right here, she she's she's a love boat, and That's right. Even Sid manages to hook up, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's just like fun the whole time and the whole way through. I mean, but the point of these parties is that they're just parties. They're just they don't necessarily have like any connections going on. Like, hey, if you like this skateboarding competition, you should check out. Like, that's the thing. When you get famous, the parties they're not just frail. They when you they're like people that rub elbows with people, and I mean in Grand Theft Auto Vice City, Tommy Vercetti goes to one yacht party and meets all the big names in the city, just like that. And I'm pretty sure that they got that from something that is true. And that's like the only thing. It's just, oh, okay, well, I've got a girl or two. I'm going to get a couple girls and I'm going to pass the fuck out and crash. Like really, I'm going to sip a beer. But I mean, really, all you got to say is, but really, I mean, what else would you want to do? But, I mean, that's what you got to consider. I mean, if you're saying if you're saying that like who gives a fuck, basically what you gotta say is why not? I mean, really, that's it. I mean, that's as far as it goes. I mean, that's it. I'm talking about like I don't give a flying fuck about that at all. And but I don't know. I'm just kind of talking shit a little bit. But like I was saying, it's just like all right, they need to meet connections. Like, and I mean, I don't necessarily would if I was at a party. I'm not. I don't know. Like really, you gotta kind of say, yeah. I mean, not everyone wants to waste time rubbing elbows with people, but I guess it did happen. This is what I was talking about. Like, it happened. I wasn't even paying attention to this. I watched the movie before, and Johnny Knoxville shows up. He basically says, "Yeah, we've got something for you, and now it's time." I mean, they will find you. I mean, I thought that they would find like some skateboarder, and he'd be like, "Well, we've got this competition, and you could definitely win some bread," and like that sort of thing. Really, I mean, I have no problem with that happening, but they did it one step better, and we're gonna bring out an endorsement, and things kind of start to take a little bit of a turn for the bad, just because it's like, I used to smoke hookah. I really did. Like, yeah, I mean, But like really, all that you want, I don't know, like they kind of start to question him, and that's it. I mean, it's the breakup. They just kind of, I think he just spit at someone. Now, this things get, like it starts to he starts to get roughed up a little bit, but he comes back and he decks him with the skateboard. And really, I mean, type of situation, like, I mean, if they ask for it, there's nothing wrong. Like, I mean, I don't know, just a regular party. But like the thing is, they're at the surf shop. That's the thing. Like, really, parties at the own spot. I don't know what's supposed to be going on here. I think Skip is kind of like flipping out because everyone's leaving, and everyone. I mean, they don't go through it, but eventually everyone else does. Like, there's just like a skip because I guess like it got kind of boring, or like certain times, like when a movie will skip, it skips like the progression stage, and I mean, like it's one of those things that where it's like they don't they just kind of say, well, like if you can lift 25 pounds in dumbbells, and then like they will skip it until you can lift 50 pounds. Like they won't show like you lifting 35 pounds and 40 pounds. They're gonna just go right to 50, and that's kind of like what it does. I mean, Skip just is drinking because, I mean, I don't necessarily know if like Skip was bad. I mean, like, that's the thing about it. But they do, and now he's like, hey, fuck it, I've got money. That's it. Like, really, this is what I'm talking about, where they all start to go their separate ways. But this is where, like, I mean, I think probably if Jay would have done this, they probably would have been like, forget it, because it's the sort of shit that he started doing. I mean, like he could have started doing. I don't know, like Jay Adams was like the loose cannon almost of the group. They said he was like the seed, the I could look it up, the original seed. Like that's it. Tony Alva. Now, these cats were actually like years apart from each other. Like I'm looking up Tony Alva, and he was born on September 2nd, 1957. And Jay Adams was born in February 1961. So I mean, really, I've never really considered hanging out with. I've only done it like one other time, but I can't see myself hanging out with someone who's younger than me by 5 years. I'm not at that age yet. Like really, someone like if I'm 24, and for me to hang out with someone who's 18, I don't think I could do it. Really, I mean, it wouldn't work. Like I definitely couldn't hang out with someone who was 16. I mean, 4 years difference. That's I mean, I guess 3 years difference. That's not bad, but I mean the thing about it is just it's what you think, really. Stacy Peralta. Stacy's like the same age. Like they're all the same age, but Stacy Peralta had a son and he died. It said it was aggravated by a combination of alcohol and drugs. But Stacy Peralta's son died at the age of 22, and which really wasn't that long ago. But these guys were actually popular in the 90s. I mean, the thing about it was, since they were all born in like the late 50s, early 60s, they all kind of blew up circa the 80s and 90s. I mean, really, they're 56. 20 years ago, they were 36 and 33. I mean, really, I can't think of like the age where you should not be skateboarding anymore. But like the thing about it was that um what else would you be doing? And I mean, that's the kind of shit that I was talking about at the beginning. I might have deleted it. It might have been like in a prior, but like I was thinking, how long do you actually want to be skateboarding? And it's like the whole. That's another thing. Is like I don't know how long I want to do YouTube. Like really, I mean, I don't want to have to do what I mean, as much you should like what you do, but to say you're going to do this when I'm 65 years old, I mean, I shouldn't have to by that point. If I'm getting like $80,000 a month, I shouldn't have to make videos when I'm 65. I mean, I could if I wanted to, but I think once it's over, it's over. And that's just like the main thing to me. But I kind of got quiet because I was looking up the the profiles on these guys. Each of them has a Wikipedia, and I didn't do Sid, but I guess I could. This is where they start getting endorsements and everything like that. Sid does not have, like, he doesn't have one. America Ferrera. That was Thunder Monkey. I hate, like, forget about it. America Ferrera is definitely someone I have no problem talking to. But she has a husband. But hey, I'm kind of not watching the movie, and it's kind of like I missed like a ton of shit. Like, I mean, even Tony Hawk is in the film, and I know you're saying like, oh God, you're sure a seasoned skateboarder, but I don't know. I missed. Like, it basically showed like their life of what's going on. I mean, I'm not going to redo the whole film, but like I was just looking shit up, and so I guess that gives you like a little bit to enjoy of the film. But America Ferrera, forget it. I don't know if I could jump in water with my clothes on. I really don't, especially considering I usually have something in my pockets. Like, I mean, a lot of times I have an iPod with me, and like, I kind of wish that I would not have missed that part because I could have had some interesting shit to say. But I mean, whatever. It is what it is. Yeah. Now, this is like the final part of the film, and that's it, really. I mean, this is like the last competition, and Tony Alva gets like his eye fucked up. He really does. I mean, just that one sucker punch nailed him, and they basically kind of summed it up because I mean, this I guess they want. I mean, they wanted to kind of put a cap on the film, but they actually did get the fuck going. They really did, and that's. I think you can say that Tony Alva was the most successful out of these guys. At least that's the way it appears. But like, I mean, the funny thing about it is that like there's this all this fame surrounding skateboarding. I mean, it makes you wonder like is there really enough room for everything? Because like all these women like these skateboarders, and the thing about it is like that makes it seem like, oh well, what about football players? What about everything else? Like really, like there's a woman for every single thing that you can do, no matter what. I mean, even being a Let's player, like they have female fans. It's just you kind of you kind of lower your scope when you do that. Skateboarding gets its fair share. Music gets its very fair share. Being a rock artist gets its fair share. You're not going to get too many black women. Skateboarding, you're not going to get, like, I don't know, like, you might get a couple of cheerleaders, but, like, basketball, football, really, I mean, that's the kind of shit that you got to say. And, like, it's up to you. And that's just the fucking thing about it is, like, that's what you got to say. So basically, what happens is these cats get their fair share of what's good, and like, look at that. Like, that's really good. Like, that was a good jump. Like, they they even they have a dog do like a little bit of skateboarding. He kind of he doesn't get as much. He doesn't get as good of scores, and I mean, I think you knew that, but like, I don't know, like, they consider him like the worst of the three. I mean, for some reason I think he's probably like the one. He's not the best, but he's not the worst. And I think, I don't know, like, Tony Alva might be like the best one of the three, but then again, Stacy could be the worst. I don't know. Like, all of the actors that do the skateboarding are actually good. Like, they fit the roles. It's not just that, like, um but they didn't really have a lot of speaking roles, like, really, I mean they talked, but they didn't have like conversations between people where it's like they got into arguments. And that's one thing that I noticed, is that they talked, but it wasn't like, it was not a conversation film. But says that these cats were from Venice Beach, California. And I mean, like, if it's funny because, like, there really is like total fashionable things about skateboarding. And I know, like, I'm just immersed in the world, but I mean, this is what the fucking movie is about. And that's kind of what you got to talk about. I mean, I don't have to, but I mean, it just would be kind of weird if I just started bringing up other shit. Like, I could, but I don't know. But, like, there is more merchandise, and I've seen skateboarding magazines, and I really, like, I don't know, like, there, like, ESPN. I don't know about the X Games and all that. Like, there's tons of fucking things that you can talk about as far as that goes. And, like, really, something I've noticed is that he really got fucked up. Like, like, that was just like a, like, I don't know, like, if most of the time when I punch people, I'm aiming for like their jaw. I don't aim for like their eye. I don't know, like really, some people are just cheaper than other people. I mean, that's up to you. I mean, wherever you decide to hit someone is your call. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna say that because I don't want to get punched in the fucking eye. Like, and like it doesn't take much. I don't know. I'm not gonna. I don't give a fuck. Like this, it's not supposed to be about the fighting. It's just supposed to be about the fact that like Tony's a bit of a hothead, and like that's it. Time passes again, and Jay shaves his head. Really starts to become like a vato, and this does like the whole thing. They say that he gets on parole, and really, like if you're saying like if you know your history on skateboarders and you're saying like Jay is like the flyest one in the movie, like be wary. That's like the one thing I'd say is be wary because I know like ODB, Old Dirty Bastard, was the most popular member of Wu Tang, but he was also the first one to die. And like, do you really want your favorite out of every group to be the first one to die? I mean, even if they had the most women, even if they had the most money, I mean, really, I mean, considering I don't think that there was that much of a difference. Like, I mean, the difference between 48,000 and 52,000. I mean, I guess you could kind of say that, like, mm, hey, that's 4,000 I missed out on, but fucking, the point being is that just to be able to say, like, really, you're fit. Like, that's all I'm saying. I don't give a fuck. I'm not giving you I guess you could say it's almost like advice, but I'm not the type of person that's like gonna tell you what the fuck to do. The reason why I said that was because like if you like some people that like skateboarding, they know who these people are probably a lot better than I do. Like they say, "Oh yeah, Tony Alva and Jay Adams, these are fucking skateboarding legends. Like they ruled the roost back then. Like they really did. They had no problems with anything that they did. They were pioneers. They were the whole set. Like they could know about it. They could know like some skateboarders from like the 90s, 2000s, 2000 teens. Like really. I mean, huh, it's funny. I don't know if they kind of established this as like a bad. I couldn't tell if that woman was a I couldn't tell if that was a man or a woman, but he basically is like, fuck it, I've got to skate. Now, this is kind of like the point where I start to run out of steam. It always happens. I don't know. I'm just not very good with capping things off, but I am good with getting you through the experience. But I mean, really, I did this without looking up research on the film. And, like, that's a good thing, but like, I don't know. Like, uh, fucking, there's lots of success that goes on. This is the final part in the film, and they just kind of. I mean, this is California. Remember that. Like, there was gang related shit, and I used to have a cousin. I have a cousin that shaved his head like that. I mean, he had a Mexican last name. He has a Mexican last name, and like he used to dress like that. It was funny, but I mean, he didn't have like affiliations. I don't know. I just it's not necessarily that like oh I'm saying like oh my god check this person out, but like that's it really. I mean. That's it. And like basically the mall doesn't show up. Like this is kind of like the penultimate scene in the film, I think. They don't really say what happens to Skip, and but really, I mean, and that sort of thing, I mean, it applies, and that's the kind of shit that you're looking for. I mean, what else would you want to be doing? I mean, just smoking every day, working at a shop, and doing what the fuck you feel like. I mean, that's what you gotta say. I mean, as soon as you get an establishment and like you're getting paid to do what you love, that's when you've got to start appreciating things. My family has said to me several times you should start being more thankful, and I say the reason I'm not thankful is because I shouldn't have to thank for things that people take for granted. And like I think that's absolute, you know, like really, I mean, why should I thank for having food on this table when people are weighing 300 pounds and they eat whatever the fuck they want every day? Like, I'm not, this isn't the Last Supper. We're not some biblical family. And, you know, it's just, I don't fuck with that sort of thing. And, like, I mean, I'm not saying that my family is like, they're like religious or anything like that, but it's happened before. Like they saying, "Well, you should be thankful," and I don't like being told that. But um, this is basically like the end. But you know, like this cat has a tumor, and he gets to smoke weed. And I mean, really, I think the medical prescriptions that the medical reasons for being able to smoke marijuana. I mean, like really, if you have a problem that requires you to smoke medical marijuana, it's like that's like someone saying we'll cleanse the knife before we cut your head off. And it's just like, oh, okay, so I won't catch a disease before I die. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like I think they need to broaden the type of shit that happens with marijuana for medical marijuana because like really, I mean, like if you have like let's say you're in a cast and like skateboarders, like they break their elbows, they crack their arms. Well, they should get medical marijuana to take it off the pain. Like really, I mean, that's what marijuana should become. And really, I mean, yeah. Now, things kind of start to take a turn here, and I mean, I don't know how much time passed. You know, like they don't look like skateboarders, do they? Like that's the kind of thing. Like they don't dress like skateboarders. Like one's like this cholo cat, the other cat's like Abercrombie, and then the other cat's like um a prep, and it's just like really. I mean, I guess Zoo York and all those skateboarding things were not like. I guess they were not established yet. I mean, they might have been, but I don't know. So, I mean, really, and I mean, this film is good. Like that's the thing about it. Like you say, well, like holy shit, like how much of this film are you gonna like? Well, it's an enjoyable ride through and through. It's just that basically basically it's just that there's not a lot of conversations going on. Like they don't have like I mean, it was just like I don't want to say it's low budget, but like it just seemed like it was closer to a documentary more than it was a film. And it was like not necessarily borderline, but borderline. And that's the kind of thing that is like, I mean, they do things in the plot and in the story, but it's just like, but it's good. And my balls itch. I hate that feeling. I mean, it feels good when you scratch them, but like it's just I don't know why that happens so much. But It's not necessarily that it's just it happens. Like I mean, it's just it. I'm gonna say it happens more than like getting an itch on your back, and it's just I don't know, but like it's too bad that they didn't make like a film showing like I guess the reason why they didn't do it is because like they would have had to make films based on each one of the characters, and I guess that would have been boring. But yeah, so that's it, and like it basically shows what happens to all of them, and it tells you. I mean, I think Tony Alva was probably like the most successful out of all these cats, and they said he still sneaks into backyards to skate empty pools. Like really, like he said, "Oh yeah, I still do it," but this movie came out in 2005, and they were like in their 40s when that happened. Like if they were 14, if they were 40 in 1997, they were probably 48 in in 2005. So it's like okay, like he's like to say he still sneaks into. I don't know. But that's it. Like that's the film in a nutshell, everyone. You basically seen the whole thing, and I'm not gonna talk you through like the whole these this little scenes that you can see there because there's like nothing going on. But that's it, everyone. I've officially done 2 films in the span of a day. I'm probably gonna go to bed in like the next couple hours. It's 12:46 in the morning, and like I'm just gonna do another film. I guess I'll do some video games as well because I don't want to forget about that. But I mean, definitely just forget about that. America Ferrera is Thunder Monkey, and she was stoked. She was stuffed like a fucking Thanksgiving turkey. But that's it. Like forget about it, everyone. We will definitely have more movies on the way. I'm gonna try to upload. I'm gonna try to get my schedule happening that much more often. Temper my patience so I can do more than one movie a day, and hopefully get like blow up quicker. But this has been a successful movie, and I hope you enjoy the experience. And in fact, I know you did. Like, forget about it. But stay tuned, everyone. This has been Zen or Titanic.